This is Tom Witek with Your Choice Realty Corp Brokerage. My website is at justsellinghomes.ca. I am an Ottawa real estate salesperson. And today I am here with my guest, a home inspector.
Hi, my name is Clint Parnell, and I'm with Townhome Inspections.ca.
Okay, and what we would like to talk about is various inspections for different property classes. How would Clint basically approach? We're going to talk about single home, a townhome, and a garden home or three-story home, because the inspections are going to be a little bit different. So Clint, can you first talk about the single home? Let's start with single home. So how would you approach it?
Typically, I have a system that I follow when I'm inspecting a home. I do the exterior of the home, and then I do the roof. And then once I'm inside the home, I usually start at the top, and then I basically wind my way down, usually into the basement. Okay. And when I'm doing that, I'm inspecting every room. I'm inspecting the attic. I'm inspecting the plumbing, electrical. I work my way down, as I just mentioned, and then I'm doing a full sweep of the basement or the ground floor, depending on the style of home. I'm looking for water around the walls, water infiltration, and then my last part of the inspection usually ends up in the home's mechanical room, where I'm looking at the water heater, the furnace, whatever ventilation system they have in the home. So it's usually done the same way, and the reason that I do that, Tom, is just so that I have a pattern that I follow, and so that I'm thorough, and that's basically what I try to do.
Just like selling real estate, inspecting a home is a process, so you need
process, exactly.
You need a good checklist to follow to catch every single issue. Now, so probably single homes and semi-detached or townhomes will be approximately the same in the way you inspect them, but does the single take longer usually to do any inspection? What would it be on average, the time allotted for?
Well, usually a single family home, depending on the size, but I usually allow 2.5 to 3 hours to do a full inspection. And usually with an attached home or like a row home, I try and concentrate more of that inspection time on the interior, just due to the not being the same surface area on the outside to inspect.
Now, is there like specific tool or anything else that you use when you inspect basements? I understand when they're finished, it's kind of hard to inspect anything.
No, that's a good question. I carry a digital thermal imaging camera in my truck.
Okay, perfect.
And I also carry a digital moisture meter. So even if the basement is finished, which most of the time they are, if I suspect that there's water infiltration in the home, then I can pull out my moisture meter, and it'll tell me if it's picking up moisture.
So from my understanding, you have to go like pretty much inch by inch in those areas to find out if there is water penetration. What's the best way to find if there is true water leakage or just, I don't know, water accumulation, which could be normal in the basement because
Absolutely, of the... So typically, your inspection premise is a visual inspection. So if you see an area in the home, let's say we're talking about a basement, if you see an area where you suspect that there's moisture, then that's where you would take out your digital moisture meter, and it basically gives you an idea of the area where the water could be coming in.
And you do the same in the bathrooms?
Normally, your bathrooms don't usually have water issues unless you have a leaking faucet or a leaking toilet or something. But usually, the moisture issue will show up somewhere else.
Perfect. Okay, so now going back, how would the inspection differ for like a garden home or a three-story home? Because obviously it's a different setup versus the single home in terms of time, in terms of inspection, in terms of issues that you find. How would it differ?
Well, as I had mentioned earlier, I kind of have to see the home, and usually I will, on a home like that you just mentioned, I will concentrate most of my time on the interior of the home, just due to an attached home or a row home. It doesn't have the same exterior space as a single family would.
Exactly. So some neighbor may have an issue, but this home is not going to have an issue. But you still have to kind of determine if that issue on the other side can kind of infiltrate.
And that's why I usually spend more of the inspection looking at the walls, and you're basically, the home is going to tell you a story, and it's basically up to the inspector to peel the layers back and sort of do an investigation of how the home is performing.
Excellent. And then you issue and report to clients. Is it on site or do you email them? What's the time frame people can expect to get such a report?
So typically what I do, Tom, is I give a verbal assessment of the home when I'm completed with the client. And then I email them a full digital report within 24 hours after the completion of the inspection.
And they have like pictures that they can refer to, just in case when I have to renegotiate the price with the listing salespeople. Can I use something specifically, to do that?
Absolutely.
Within that file, right?
Yeah, I take pictures usually anywhere between 110 to, and it could be up to 150 pictures. I don't necessarily use all of those pictures in the report, but I do use a good portion of them. And then whatever issues that I encounter, I always include very high quality digital pictures, and then there is always recommendations and even illustrations to give a better understanding of what the issues are.
So it's definitely worth to get a home inspection before you buy, or even if you're thinking of listing and you want to do a pre-listing inspection, and you do these as well.
I do, and a typical buying inspection is going to tell you how the home is performing as a system, but usually clients will contact me before they're thinking of putting their home to list it, as you just mentioned, and that gives them an idea of the potential problems that maybe they didn't know about, and it gives them an opportunity to address these issues before they list their home.
Exactly. So they can correct that, or maybe just reduce the price, taking into account these issues that do come up. If, for example, you need to change a roof, then either you change a roof or you reduce the price, and the buyer can address the issue. It depends.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So, what's your contact info?
www.titanhomeinspections.ca, or my number is 613-447-5447.
Excellent. And I'm Tom Witek with Your Choice Realty Corp, and my website is justsellinghomes.ca. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Tom.
Appreciate it.